this video we are going to reproduce the incredible account of a time traveler. This man is called Anno Domini. He came from planet Earth, on the date December 24, 2089. Be aware of Anno Domini's dark and startling account of the land. Subscribe to the channel. I just turned 68 years old, but I look like someone 35 years older. Perhaps I am the oldest person left of humanity, as the current life expectancy is 30 years. 15-year-olds already have dry and wrinkled skin. I suffer from serious kidney problems because I drink little water, and I believe I am dying. When I was a child, everything was very different, with lots of trees in the parks and beautiful gardens in the houses. Oh! I could enjoy a shower for an hour. Now we use towels moistened with mineral oil to clean the skin. In the past, women showed their beautiful hair, but these days we must shave our heads to avoid infestations. My father used to wash the car with water that came out of the hose, and today the boys don't believe that the water was used that way. Clothing is disposable, made with cheap plastic, which greatly increases the amount of polluting waste. We had to go back to using septic tanks like in the last century because the sewer networks do not operate without water. The population's appearance is depressing, their bodies swooning, dirty and wrinkled from dehydration. People are covered in sores due to overexposure to solar radiation because the ozone layer that protected the Earth no longer exists. Endless desertified regions constitute the only landscape visible everywhere. Gastrointestinal and urinary tract infections, in addition to skin cancer, are the main causes of death. The DNA of the population has been altered by the transgenic foods and vaccinations of the past, and as a result there are many people suffering mutations and deformations. The Third World War was decisive in the ruin of humanity due to the use, albeit restricted, of portable atomic weapons, during the first confrontations. I remember a scenario after an atomic attack that I can't erase from my mind. For the first few minutes after the explosion of the artifact, the victims kept their gazes fixed with distant expressions, seeming to be anesthetized or suffering from post-traumatic catalepsy. They just stood there, and you could see that most kept their arms out at a steep angle. People kept their arms outstretched because it was too painful to allow themselves to support their arms at their sides as the contact triggered excruciating pain. Then my eyes were drawn to his hands and I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. But it wasn't. The fingers of these victims began to resemble stalactites, seeming to drip towards the ground, and it wasn't long before the screams began. Screams and groans of hundreds of victims at once, who continued to stand amid a sea of shattered concrete and glass, a desert punctuated by the remains of buildings, orphaned walls and stairs that led nowhere. I am now able to recover the memory of the dantesque scene, and I have the recollection of seeing the victims with their arms so severely burned that all the skin on their limbs was hanging down below their hands, as if it were melting. The economy has long since collapsed and industries are at a standstill. Unemployment is total as the desalination plants are the main source of work, but they pay employees with clean water instead of cash. Water murders are common and known as water conflict. The food is synthetic and produced by mixing oil shale with seaweed. Scientists have even looked for viable alternatives, but since virtually all flora and fauna are extinct, nothing has been proposed. The air we breathe is also degraded and polluted due to the absence of trees or vegetation. The contamination and absence of life in the oceans, plus the constant loss of molecular oxygen to space, in addition to malnutrition, triggered an incredible decrease in the IQ of the population. The government charges for the air we breathe, and those who cannot pay are removed from the ventilated areas, whose air is supplied by mechanical solar-powered blowers. It's not quality air, but you can survive instead of suffocating in community villages. In some places there are remnants of vegetation rooted in old perennial riverbeds. These are heavily guarded by the forces of repression because water is a more coveted commodity than gold or precious stones. The system of government is socialist anarchism that employs the model of collectivization. There is no more vegetation because it never rains, and when there is some precipitation it is composed of acid rain and polluted. The seasons were severely altered by the leaks from nuclear power plants and the polluting industries of the 20th century. I remember that they asked us to take care of water as a precious commodity, but no one cared, because we thought the water would never run out. We were totally absorbed in our feudal lives. Currently, all rivers, dams, lagoons and aquifers are irreversibly contaminated or depleted. I remember that in the past the water intake to stay healthy was 2 liters a day. Today, I only have 250 milliliters. We were warned to take care of the environment for future generations, but no one paid the slightest attention. When my daughter asks me to describe the past, I try to visualize, with tears in my eyes, how beautiful the woods were. I describe to her the rain, the flowers, and how pleasant it was to bathe or fish in the rivers and dams. I remember how we drank all the water we wanted and how healthy and happy we were. But she asks me, "Daddy, why did the water run out?" So I feel a lump in my throat, because I can't help but feel guilty, as I belong to the generation that destroyed the environment or that simply didn't heed so many warnings and signs. If it were possible for my daughter to leave offspring, my grandson would pay a heavy price for everything we've done wrong on Earth, but now it's too late even for her. Because of emission and selfishness towards future generations, life on this planet will no longer be possible, because the destruction of the environment has reached an irreversible point. As I would like to go back and make humanity understand all this tragedy that would mean the extinction of the human being in the future, I regret that we did nothing to save our dear planet Earth. I don't think I'll get past this day, and it's time to say goodbye. I beg your pardon. What lesson do we take away from this story? First, the path that humanity is treading has only one end: disgrace and pain. Second, we only value things when we lose them. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications, to receive new videos. Thanks.